Even if I want it, I will break inside. Come on, my goodbye. One more goodbye. One more goodbye. One more goodbye.
Sweat is bodily. Sweaty means a state that makes it impossible to understand our bodies as self-contained entities that are separable from their surroundings. Dwelling means to occupy a place, to build a space for one's own body. With and through our bodies, we will tell stories. We inhabit, build, and relate to worlds.
In this sense, we understand sweaty dwellings as the shared bodily urgency to make things public, claim a space, This urgency is accompanied by the desire to give these stories a place to dwell in cohabitation, a pleasurable mess. However, we do not want to erect monuments for eternity, but to use our sticky hands to construct temporary practices in the present instead. As we build and dwell, we try to dismantle exclusionary narratives that are only constructed for some, such narratives in which other bodies are left placeless.
The writer and scholar Sarah Ahmed describes feminism as a building project that needs to be constructed out of feminist material. Sweaty Dwellings ask how we can inhabit embodied modes of knowledge production by using our lived experience as shared stories as tools and bricks. How can we tell stories without heroes, reoccupying this position with many voices? Welcome to Sweaty Dwellings, our collaborative project between ousa and possy and some amazing accomplices who followed our open call last year to search for intersectional feminist tools of resistance and regeneration through workshopping, drawing, talking, carrying, and of course publishing. And today we will talk about the release of our online publication that assembles different artistic contributions that developed over the past months. We will broadcast live from the MKG Freiraum. And we are very happy to see you here in person, but also to, if you're just listening to us through the radio. And yeah, through a day-long radio program and physical installations, we will activate our online publications with our voices and sounds and bodies. By listening to us on Hello Radio, you can find our publications on sweatydwellings.hotglue.me, where you can find also all the contributions you can listening throughout the day. The structure of this day is twofold. We will begin here in the MKG Freiraum and close this first part around 5. And then we will continue around 9 and with a transition into the second part of the day at Slot in the Frappant building. You can join us there for music and readings and performances. And afterwards, we will celebrate the day with an after party with music by possy DJs. And we, of course, invite all of you to join us with your ears, eyes, and bodies.
So before starting this conversation, thank you, Lena, for your words. We would like to remind everyone that this is a place where we will try to make everyone feel as safe as possible and as respected, as valued as possible. So make room to listen to feedback and also to give feedback in a loving way from a place of good faith, always thinking that people may not know what you already know or feel the same way that you feel. So be open to receive and give with love. And with this, I thank everyone that made this project possible, or this event possible, which is Hello Radio, first of all. Thank you for making this broadcast possible. MKG and also Slot for giving us a place to stay. And besides thanking ourselves from Possy and ousa, I also want to thank our accomplices. So I will name everyone that decided to join us in this little adventure. Alex Stria, Kenia Flores, Nike Mateas, Tekla Molnar, Nichelle Santagata, Mush, Luca Zimach, Filipa, it's weird to read my name, Irem Kurt, and Lena Jaruntovsky. I'm so sorry if I butchered anyone's name.
That was great.
So this is Sweaty Dwellings. This is what we have been building and what we would like you to contribute to with your own brick, let's say. And we would like to start talking about how this all came to be. And I will just introduce the 4 things we would like to talk about, which is about collective work, about publishing, intersectional feminism of it all, and our struggles with the project. So I will start with a question to my core colleagues about how we approached collective work.
It's to us.
It's to us all. I will also answer, but I'll just like drop the hot potato on you.
As I'm Lina, by the way, I think we forgot to introduce ourselves. I'm a member of Possy, and with Possy, we have a kind of loose hierarchical group, and we started our collective practice as from the kind of shared urgency, I would say, to build spaces and places in the Hamburg club culture scene. Throughout the last years, we managed to kind of also create a kind of network for a lot of different flinter artists. Our work contained like next to like parties, but we also did performances, workshops, readings, smaller festivals, and
Mm.
the publication like a few years ago. That's I think where it all started, and where the first idea for a next event or a next idea started, like a few years ago already. I think picking up the notion of publishing, maybe this is kind of the key word, because I think what I think, or how I see the work of Possy, it's all about publishing in very different ways. It's like publishing in the sense of claiming a space, creating a space, and raising your voice, or creating a space for other voices. And I think this is, one of the main, or as I see Possy and the work of Possy, one of the main things we are doing. And
I think that's how we got invited, because we actually gave a workshop in one of your festivals 3 years ago. I want to say, I think it was 2021, and then we started this second publication. And I think I wanted to talk so I'm Felipe from ousa, and this is Irem, my co-founder.
Hey.
And I think the way we see collective work is really like the way we are able to do anything is through collaborations and through shared resources. And that was, I think, how this project came to be, and how important it was to start collaborating with people from that do other kinds of work but are interested in the same goal of like finding space and making space where it seems to be none. So that was really important. And I also think the fact that we were able to come from like different cities also, there was a point. Sorry, I'll stay with my mic. I move my hands too much. What was I saying? How we approached collaborative work also in an online way. I think we did a lot of things in person, but we also, like, the majority of the work was online, and that was also really interesting to bring in at a point 4 cities together. So that was interesting.
Yeah, maybe we can also, in relation to this, talk a bit about the process, how we worked together and how everything came together somehow. Mm-hmm. Also to give a bit of context. So, Sweaty Dwelling started with a collaboration between like Possy and ousa, and then we developed 4 different workshops with our participants, accomplices, and 2 of them were on site in Hamburg and Berlin, and the other 2 were online. So it was like, as you just said, Philippa, kind of trying to build relation through different cities, different time zones actually also, and trying to also stay in contact through like Zoom calls.
And also to have this like a space which was not only for work but also for connection and recharging. It should be we were trying to build also an online space, which was not so exhausting, for example.
Yeah, and I
My
think
name is Luca. For, I didn't mention that before.
co-founder of Possy. Yeah, I think that was also like really important. That I also wanted to talk about like how we got there to this idea, because this project started 2 years ago, more or less, and it was supposed to be a second publication to the publication that you just mentioned by Possy. And I wanted to touch on this because sometimes it's hard to imagine how can we do this. It's a non-budget. We are all adults with different careers, jobs, whatever. And how can we do this? And I think we were able to come here because we took the time and we were okay with doing things slowly, because that's really the only way we were able to do it. And so I think it's important to share this idea to other people that would also like to do a project or also would like to make space and they don't know how to start. And I think the network and then the fact that we got this space, the MKG and also the gallery in Berlin, is all through connections and just understanding what kind of resources you already have that you might not be aware, and the resourcefulness of coming from a publication that we couldn't really afford and it wasn't really working out, and then changing it around to this workshop series where we just did an open call and invited more people to work with us. So that was really a cool experience to read through everyone's applications and to choose our accomplices for these workshops in person, online, and how people acted differently, like online and in person, and how there is like pros and cons for both of them. Now, I think we also figured that out because in the beginning we were always wishing that we were together physically, and the fact that we weren't, I think, allowed for some other kinds of ideas and like processes.
Yeah, I just want to add that the interesting part is actually that at the beginning you have this one idea, it has to be publication, but then you see with all of these different minds that you can create something totally different because everyone has their own perspective, their own background and resources. And after 2 years, it became something totally different because I remember the first meeting we actually had. We were brainstorming, we were mapping, and then we had a game at the beginning and this changed again. And now we're here sitting with a lot of different people who put their energy, time, resources, minds, backgrounds into something, which is a website, and where you can see, this is what happened actually in all of the meetings, besides of the bonding and changing experiences. I think that was also really special that it's not just the work we did, but also the bonding process and talking, sharing, and which might be inspiring. Yeah.
Also, let's maybe talk a bit about what we were discussing and what kind of topics we were touching in the workshops, because that gives a bigger picture to what frame we are working in. So, the main part was to create an intersectional feminist collective in the first idea, and from there we talked a lot about regenerative practices and support and cheese, food. Maybe jump in.
Yes, but also about struggles and community. What does community actually mean? Also from a totally different perspective, maybe from the American perspective or the German perspective.
Also wording sometimes, right?
You're right.
If we want to use Flinter as a word, for example, as a acronym. Yeah.
Yes, totally. And I think that's the really interesting part for me, to have all of these different minds and perspectives on topics. Also, on the one hand, we have people who are more academic than people who are less academic, like me, for example. I didn't study these kind of things. but I have my own knowledge experience, and then seeing different perspectives and learning from each other. I think that was also really interesting.
Also, I think the different practices everyone took in with them, because everyone was invited and getting into the program with a tool. And like we had dancers and musicians and people who are like really into poetry, spoken word artists, like so many different techniques we were combining with each other.
That's a nice point, because Philippa and I were actually from the illustration side, and meeting all of these different people. Like our collective is more in this drawing illustration area, and now here we mixed it up with spoken words, as you said, dancing, walking, reading while walking, and it became more artistry. I don't know, like at least like it became bigger to something like you have your tool, but you expand your own tool and you learn a new tool and you mix it up. And
I also had to think a lot about care. I know it's kind of like it's used a lot these days, and it's also kind of might be sometimes cheesy, but for me it was approaching publishing as I always thought about publishing as an act of care, but more have a graphic design background, and for me it was an act of care, for example, to typeset a text with care, and to think about how like words can kind of express the meaning of the text. But I think there was a new layer of care coming in with this project, because it was not so much about the first thing was not so much about publishing, but about cares for different bodies. And this is something a participant of us said once in an online meeting, that she said cares for different cares for different bodies. And I think this was also our position as maybe organizers, to kind of really care for the group, but also try. I mean, it's also always trying. You can't promise this, but try to care for everybody. Try to care for the whole project.
Shout out to Nichelle at this point, because Nichelle can't be with us today because of whatever. We think of you, and
it's very sad that you're not here.
And
a
we
lot of
thank
love
you.
to you.
We are very, very grateful for your participation. We were talking about care, and I think I just wanted to talk more about like the process of our own collaboration, because the four of us worked for, I guess, 1.5 years, I would say. And I think it was also important, like interesting, like how we cared for, like some meetings took so long because we cared so much to make sure if everyone was being understood. And then it's funny how sometimes that would make things frustrating, because if we are caring so much, then everything becomes slower. But I also think it was, at least for me personally, that was also important. And I also felt really, I don't know, safe to always say what I thought, regardless of how that could delay or like make. So I guess this is my thank you for you all.
Thank you, Philippa.
Yes, we can give this back, I guess.
Yeah. I was really exhausted from some meetings, that's true, because we were talking so much, so long. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also something that we're part of, like the whole process of relating to each other, but how we can become a kind of we without forgetting ourselves in it, maybe. And also, think about our personal resources, I would say.
And what was also interesting is when we started actually the first workshop, we didn't know, are we just organizers or are we part of this newly created collective? Should we take part or not? That was also a big discussion. And at the end of the day, the collective itself decided, you are part. Hello. And that was really nice to see. Oh, wow, okay. Now we're so we're confused ourselves, do we have capacity or not? But it turned out we became somehow a part in the whole process of the workshops. And I like that, actually. It showed even the newly created collective started caring about us. And we were not only the organizers, we became like a group. And yeah, thank you to all of you, also from my side.
I think we have some problems with the connection of the radio. Wi-Fi problem, I would say. But we are back. And yeah.
I feel like this is a great segue for the struggles. The struggles topic that we would like to talk about. I think, as a non-budget project is, the main struggles are time and money. I guess that's the great struggles of our capitalist society.
We agree on that.
So we would like to talk a little bit about how we tried to go around it. And I think, I also want to talk about the fact that we did apply to some funds, and that this is that it's part of the process to apply for things, and that you don't get it, and that does not mean you cannot still again go check in your community and try to get resources. Even though you don't have any money, you can still build something. But the price is also, of course, like the amount of hours we put in for free, and like the amount of effort that we put in. And yeah, I think that that was only possible because we had such a long deadline and we had such flexibility. I would like to talk about this like contradiction sometimes, because we are trying to like fight and dismantle like this capitalist, colonial, patriarchal systems. But for us to do that, we kind of ended up doing to fall into the same kind of work or like non-work-life balance, because what happened is that we worked a lot and we worked after hours. We had meetings at 8, 9. It's okay, thank you. It's like soundtrack. This is also interesting. Like, how can we kind of like play with the system, or without like losing ourselves into it? Yeah.
I think we did not find a solution for that until now.
We stopped making meetings after
8. That's a great progress we made. But besides that,
yeah, I mean, there's also the difficulty of like, as you said, the fundings, but also how to get fundings as like a, let's say, a loose group, a new group, a small group, without any. And you are not kind of a legal body, let's say, in the sense of that, because in Germany there are some restrictions in relation to funding. So, I think this is also a problem actually, to kind of, because it makes it hard to start something. It's easy for established projects and groups, but if you want to start something new, it's very difficult. Or this is also what I experienced a lot.
Yeah,
but that's also why I think we all enjoy this room here in MKG, because it's like breaks the bridge between a known institution and a place where groups can meet and gather, and like breaks the bridge
barrier
to the outside world.
Yeah, but I think, this is really not just a comment that I think I'm thinking more and more about it, that it's actually a privilege to do this kind of work. And it's sometimes frustrating to think that we try to make room for ourselves and we try to make room for our voices, but there's so much we cannot make space for, because it is a massive privilege to just have the time. It's not something that you can just give, even if for us it's easier to give in somehow. And I think this is why it's so problematic that small projects cannot easily get funding, because it's, again, more time and more resources to form, even if it's just a Verein, right? And I think which is an association. I think this is the name in English. But even the bureaucracy that involves that, because we thought about that at a point, and like just the fact that you need 7 people to sign and be agreeing on everything, and you cannot make any sort of profit, which I think extremely unfair if somebody is maybe this is a bit I know this is like maybe controversial in a way, but I think if you would like to do community work, you should be paid for, because we still need to pay our bills. We still live in this post-capitalism, let's say. And it's a little bit unfair that talking about money, it's a kind of a taboo sometimes. So it's again, and then it's again in a very privileged bubble, because only people, the only people that say, "Oh, I don't care about money, I do what I love," which I'm not saying I'm not those people, but this is an extremely privileged thing to say, even if we are struggling doing that, right? Like, it is a privilege to be able to do this struggle. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to comment on that, because I think this is really a bit like class barrier is something that it would be important to break, and one of the ways to break it is to make funding more accessible, especially to grassroots projects. Yeah. Also, can I invite people to
please,
comment?
please.
You can comment. Our participants, also our accomplices, or whoever wants to say anything, you can jump in next to us, to our cozy pillows. Yeah.
I think the only way, like the way I think we maybe get around this a bit is like to try to share all the resources we have, and that's what we try to do, and to do it on the level where it's like reaches really the people who wants and who needs these resources. I mean in a way of sharing places, for example, or like giving contacts, or all this kind of stuff. What we can do still without money.
I also want to talk about another aspect, because we had once a conversation where we said, if this project leads to no end, that means no project at all, after all that time, we will be okay, and that's fine. It's sad, but that's reality. And I think that conversation was really important we had between the four of us, because it showed, yes, it's always nice to have an end product, a publication, or, something really fancy. But if time, money, resources, and exhaustion is a thing, then we should be just adult enough and say, you know what, it was a fun time, we tried our best, but we're gonna stop here. And for all the other groups who start, I think that's really important to say, you know what, we tried, it didn't work. Yeah. We sent application, nobody wanted to support this project, or just a few, but that's not enough. And then to be anti-capitalist in a way is also to say, I'm going to stop here. It was a nice journey, but I'm not going to be sad the next day. I will maybe do something else then, or just leave. Yeah.
Also,
and this aspect. Yeah.
I think also connected to this is like not to put the pressure on our participants and on the people who joined us, because we made it as an open thing, and people can also, they were invited to also take the space and enjoy the space and relax in the space, and don't be pressured from all these things we had on our shoulders. So I think this was also a struggle we had inside ourselves to not like push or something.
Yeah, but that's why I think like this, the creative, we're talking about like our creative ways to do it, and it does come from lack of resources, but I think that's what we can give, as you were saying, like just to show that there are alternatives, that we can make a publishing. This is us publishing. This is a publication in a way. Maybe you can talk more.
No, yeah, I can. But I think it was a great ending for this first part. We will talk about publishing definitely later again. But I think also to pick up on the resources, maybe we can talk a bit about a resource. Luca and you and me, we brought in.
Luca and Lina
brought in. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want to start talking about it?
Yeah, let's do it. So we're going over now to the next part. So, Lena and me, we were thinking a lot about feminist and intersectional theory, and because our topic, sweaty dwellings, is so close related to body and to housing and to feeling good, feeling comfortable in a way, we wanted to bring theory closer to the body. So we invented I don't know how can I say, a practice where you read, and you read in different locations. You read out loud. You read with people together. You give emotions to the text. You try to give the text more a body. So. What can you add?
Yeah, I think it is was the approach to think about theory as something bodily, and as where your body your body always responds, and you can't really separate yourself from it. So, and also, of course, not in, like when you are dealing with theory or you're in touch with theory. So we started to think about ways of reading and moving and engaging with theory to bring the body in. And to see maybe also the text as a form of dialogue or as a form of invitation to move,
and also to engage with other people about these emotions.
And one of the texts we read were "Living a Feminist Life" from Sarah Ahmed, and I think the text. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone. I can only speak for me, but it's a text which kind of really gave me, still gives me like bodily feelings of like, I don't know, excitement, love, anger. And it really, you can't, or at least I couldn't read the text without heavily bodily emotions. And we invited the participants to read this text and go on a walk, and we would like to share a bit of the readings with you now. So please stay.